The confirmation hearing of Linda McMahon, who Donald Trump appointed to be the Secretary of the Department of Education, took place today. Donald Trump had ordered Linda McMahon to essentially dismantle the Department of Education as her job as the Secretary of the Department of Education, to destroy it. It also seems like Donald Trump ordered her to spy on clubs in schools like an African American club or Vietnamese clubs or other clubs like that. She said that she would want the government to look into these clubs to determine whether or not schools should receive any types of federal funding at all if they're having things like African American clubs. Here, play this clip.
You're saying that it's a possibility that if a school has a club for Vietnamese American students or Black students where they meet after school, that they could be potentially in jeopardy of receiving federal funding?
Again, I would like to fully understand what that order is and what those clubs are doing.
That's pretty chilling. I think schools all around the country are going to hear that. What about educational programming centered around specific ethnic and racial experiences? My son is in a public school. He takes a class called African American History. If you're running an African American history class, could you perhaps be in violation of this court order, of this executive order?
I'm not quite certain, and I'd like to look into it further and get back to you on that.
So there's a possibility, you're saying, that public schools that run African American history classes, right? This is a class that has been taught in public schools for decades, could lose federal funding if they continue to teach African American history.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I would like to take a look at these programs and fully understand the breadth of the executive order and get back to you on that.
I think you're going to have a lot of educators and a lot of principals and administrators scrambling right now.
As Senator Chris Murphy, who was the one asking those questions, says, watch this short exchange in which nominee to be the Secretary of Education says that the Trump administration may micromanage what school clubs can exist and what history courses schools can teach. Perhaps the most stunning federal takeover of education in our history. It should also be noted that clubs like that have also now been banned by the Department of Defense, by Pete Hegseth, the former Fox host within the Defense Department, various kind of cadet groups that were built around ethnicity and supporting the fact that there are a lot of minorities in the military, and groups that would be built around ethnic groups have been basically banned from the Department of Defense. Right here, I want to show you this clip from Democratic Senator Patty Murray. She basically asks some basic questions to Linda McMahon. The Every Student Succeeds Act, for example, is one of the main K through 12 laws to help states improve schools for our kids. And it was a stunning moment here, you'll see, when Linda McMahon, who's supposed to lead this department, couldn't name even one part of this basic federal education law that she would focus on. It's absolutely disqualifying. Here, play this clip.
What specific actions will you take to implement the ESSA law? I'm not looking for an exhaustive list, but can you name a couple of the requirements that are in that law that you will make sure are implemented?
Well, Senator, thank you. And I would look forward to working with you in the committee, understanding more about the ESSA laws.
Do you know what the requirements are? Do you know about the requirements for targeted support improvement schools or the annual report card requirement? Can you name any of the requirements?
Yes, I have read through ESSA, and I do know it's very interesting. It's how I really got into education in the first place, was when No Child Left Behind was in place.
But there are no requirements that you can tell me right now that you will make sure, as Secretary of Education, you will implement?
No, I want to study it further and get back to you with that, and I'll be happy to do that.
By the way, Linda McMahon, she's a billionaire. She started WWE wrestling with her husband. There have been lots of allegations against her and her husband for covering up sexual harassment and sexual assault allegations. You see she's there with Triple H, the wrestler, is in the background because that's what our country has become, just a WWE cosplay fascism. You see Triple H there. Let me show you this. This is where a protester gets kicked out, but you'll see Triple H there. Here, play this clip.
And Cassidy, Yes, I'd like to introduce my daughter, Stephanie McMahon, Paul Levesque, her husband, and my son, Shane McMahon. I'm so happy to have them here, and many friends have come from far places, so I welcome having them here today and appreciate that they're here. So
I want to share with you more from that hearing, but I also want to share with you this, which is when Donald Trump was in the Oval Office recently, where he said that he wants to immediately shut down the Department of Education. He said it's a big con job, and that he's directing Linda McMahon as the secretary to destroy the agency as her job. Here, play this clip.
How soon do you want the Department of Education to be closed?
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job.
Also, when you look at the budget that the Republicans want to pass, in addition to $5 trillion or so in tax cuts for billionaires, $800 million in reduction, $800 billion rather, in reductions for Medicaid. Let me repeat that, $800 billion in reductions in Medicaid, about $4.55 billion in tax cuts for billionaires. It also includes basically $330 billion in education cuts as well. This is Republican Senator Cassidy. Just going over here with Linda McMahon, her position about dismantling the Department of Education and whether she would do it without the advice and consent of the Senate and the House of Representatives. Here, play this clip.
President Trump is reportedly drafting an executive order requiring the Secretary of Education to develop a plan for downsizing the Department of Education and working with Congress to eliminate entirely. Yes or no, do you agree that since the department was created by Congress, it would need an act of Congress to actually close the Department of Education?
And certainly President Trump understands that we'll be working with Congress. We'd like to do this right. We'd like to make sure that we are presenting a plan that I think our senators could get on board with and our Congress could get on board with, that would have a better functioning Department of Education, but certainly does require congressional action.
Okay. And in terms of the plans to downsize, what would be the components of that plan that would not require congressional approval?
Well, I do believe, Senator, that there are departments of education that are established by statute, and those particular departments we'd have to pay particular attention to. But long before there was a Department of Education, we fulfilled the programs of our educational system. Are there other areas, other agencies where parts of the Department of Education could better serve our students and our parents on a local level? And I am really all for the president's mission, which is to return education to the states. I believe, as he does, that the best education is closest to the child and not certainly
If the
from
department
Washington,
is
D.C.
downsized, would the states and localities still receive the federal funding which they currently receive?
Yes.
Okay. With
It
that,
is not the president's goal to defund the programs. It is only to have it operate more efficiently.
Here's Democratic Senator Baldwin bringing up the lawsuit that accused Linda McMahon of involvement in a WWE sex abuse scandal. Let's play this clip.
Mrs. McMahon, you have been named in a lawsuit, which alleges that you and your husband allowed for systemic and pervasive abuse of underage children to persist in your business for years. It is an ongoing lawsuit, and it alleges that you rehired a known sexual predator and you felt it was sufficient to simply direct him to steer clear of children. If confirmed, you will be responsible with overseeing the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, charged with ensuring equal access to education through vigorous enforcement of civil rights laws. I am so concerned about whether sexual assault survivors on campus can trust you to support them.
Thank you, Senator. They certainly can trust me to support them. I have a granddaughter that is now in college. I have two grandsons who are in college. And I have a deep commitment of understanding of how I would feel if any of them were involved in sexual harassment or accused of sexual harassment. You have my absolute commitment that I will uphold and protect those investigations to make sure that those students are treated fairly on both sides.
Here's Senator Hassan to Linda McMahon. Let's play it.
This little bit of, I don't know, the whole hearing right now feels kind of surreal to me. It's almost like we're being subjected to a very elegant gaslighting here, because Senator Hawley just asked you, and you talked about the need to enforce protections for Jewish students on college campuses, but the very department where the enforcement would take place is the Department of Education, and he wants to eliminate it, and you say you will work with him to do that. Similarly, you've talked about the importance of apprenticeships and other kinds of career and technical education, really important. There's bipartisan support for that here. The Republicans are in charge. We have bipartisan bill after bipartisan bill. We could go right forward with it, but there's this discussion as if we haven't made any progress on that, and there's somehow a partisan divide about that.
I want to share this with you as well. This is from Randy Weingarten, the president of the Maine Teachers Union, the Federation of Teachers. Here's what she has to say. Like, you're just being cruel to kids. Like, you're pulling the rug from under the kids here. Like, that's who you're picking on, kids in public education. Here, play this clip.
Let me just follow up with one question. As this Senate votes to approve Linda McMahon to run the Department of Education and dismantle it, as Trump himself said, that is taking place right now. As this is taking place, what would be your message to her? What is the impact, for example? Help us understand the impact of some of these firings happening right now. For example, the Education Department employee you referenced. What would happen? What's going to happen as a result of that?
It's going to make it harder for teachers to teach and kids to learn. But from 30,000 feet, think about it this way. For every parent in America, if the first thing that Donald Trump does is says, I'm taking away education opportunities, what does that say to kids? I'm doing it so that we can have more tax cuts for the wealthy. What does that say to kids and parents? Make it more efficient. Let's do more career tech ed. Let's make sure we have more apprenticeships. Let's make sure we have safe and welcoming schools. There's a lot of things that we can do together. Don't pull the rug out from under kids. We need to protect our kids and strengthen our schools. And so the symbolic value here says to people across America, I don't care about education.
Meanwhile, Elon Musk continues to mock and taunt education. Elon Musk posts, what is this Department of Education you keep talking about? I just checked and it doesn't exist. It should be noted as well, just take a look at like where these MAGA education policies are really being pushed, like in Oklahoma, for example, right? They've got that MAGA education chief, Ryan Walters, the guy who buys the Trump Bibles. The Oklahoma education system destroyed by these MAGA ideas and policies, like just crushed. It's like one of the worst education, if not the worst in the entire country. So, even the Republican Governor Stitt is attacking the right-wing MAGA education chief right there for just completely abolishing any types of standards in education. And that's what they want to take the Oklahoma model and bring that across the nation because, as Donald Trump said, he loves the poorly educated. And it's unfortunate to even say this stat, but like 60% of Americans have below a 5th grade education. And so when you have that huge of a population, adults we're talking about, that has below a 5th grade education, these lies by Donald Trump and Elon Musk can permeate and they spread, $50 million for Hamas condom bombs. We should really get angry about transgender volleyball players in San Jose State University, while these oligarchs, these billionaires are picking your pockets. I mean, they're giving themselves $5 trillion in tax cuts, and then they're attacking USAID, which supplies medication to save babies from getting HIV/AIDS from their parents, and saying, that's wasteful. Look, we saved you $128 million while giving themselves $5 trillion in tax cuts here. Let me just show you. This is a Democratic Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. Let's play it.
For the life of me, I can't understand why Republicans want to abolish the Department of Education. It's baffling to me It's baffling to the American people, and we will continue to defend our public schools.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe, and let's get to 4 million subscribers. Thanks for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.